Wanna walk to the believer's sermon together?
Yo, bro, you made it! Kick a lot of demon ass.
Like it was nothing.
I'm telling you, bro, with our, combined powers, those demons are donezo.
Right! We're gonna be late!
Oh, snap. Violet, is that you? This is crazy. It's like the gang's all here.
I'm sorry. Do I know you?
Are we all mutuals here?
Yeah, man. Violet was our crew's littlest badass. She's also mad freaky. Like this one time I read her diary, and she had written this crazy fanfic about her and the bot.
Shut the hell?
Ow, ow, ow! Violet! Cut it out!
Let's see how much you like talking without a tongue, bastard!
Uncle!
They may be freaks, but they're my freaks, supposedly.
Hello, and welcome to episode 45 of the video game podcast PlayStation Pals. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by the Akuma to my Cammy, John. Now, John, I have a funny story to tell you.
Ooh, hit me with it.
So I was randomly listening to the episode of Triple Click this week.
Okay.
And they were just talking about Zelda. But in their podcast, they went and announced their bonus episode.
Uh-oh.
Can you guess what their bonus episode was for the month of April?
Is it Persona 5?
Yeah.
Oh, man. So what you're telling me is we are right up alongside Jason Schreier in this industry.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Perfect.
And we said it first, too. We beat them by, we announced it last episode, so we beat them by 6 days, so...
What is their reasoning for going back to Persona 5? Isn't that Schreier, one of Schreier's favorites that I'm sure he played? I mean, unless if it's just time for a replay for him.
I think Kirk on the show just finished it, so...
Okay.
And even similarly, Maddie Myers is just watching it like you did.
Oh, really? What? I don't want to be compared to her, though.
So I don't know. I had a good laugh. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, posers.
Oh, that's interesting, and I mean, we'll be able to, compare and contrast. Amateur professionals. We'll see, see how close we are.
It's true. I almost want to pay for the bonus episode just so I can compare.
Oh, it's a pay thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Theirs are behind a paywall. So.
We'll get there one day, Nick. We'll get there.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into the show, just one quick announcement. I don't know if you saw this, John, but Diablo 4 is doing a server slam, which means they're bringing back the beta. So
I just saw that they had like one of those, coy tweets that every company loves to tweet out. Somebody's like, I could go for some Diablo, and they're like, we might have something to do. And so that's all I saw.
Yeah, so it's just coming back May 12th to May 14th. Same deal, same level cap, same characters don't progress over. But if you missed out on the first beta, you can check it out once again.
Same 5 steps of grief. I have to rationalize why I will not be playing this game. Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's out there for those folks who have time.
Yeah, exactly. I can't imagine someone like, I'll just play through it again and have it wiped.
Right.
And especially that close to release. I mean, you're talking weeks now.
I imagine Diablo's got to be in that land of games where there's just certain people that is their game, right? Sure. It's not to the level of like a WoW, but I imagine there are a group of people that's like, yeah, no, when there's a fresh hot Diablo, that's all I'm playing, and I just get to the end and I grind, and God bless you, but
all characters
not
max.
us. Right, craziness. Thought about doing that with Borderlands once, and then I noped out. I think halfway through the second character, I was like, "This is dumb.
Yeah.
There's other things to do."
Yeah, it's never worth your time.
No.
All right, so we got a jam-packed show today. So let's move into the format. This is how it works. John and I both bring 3 things to talk about. It can be a video game we're playing, a news item, a topic, an email to PlayStationPalsPod@gmail.com, or a Twitter DM at PSPalsPod follow us there for updates on the show. And before we get into the 6 things, I think it's no secret on the show that John and I work together. And we have said many times that has an effect on the show because we can talk about a lot of the things right away. We don't wait to see each other all week and then just go have a big blowout of video game chat on the podcast. We usually talked about most of the things in person.
I guess I could start shunning you if you want.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll just ignore each other in the hallways and whatnot. Okay. Yeah. But this week will be very different and next week too, in which we will not have that opportunity. So the things we're talking about today, we've never talked to each other about, so it's going to be quite exciting.
Yeah, we're recording from our lovely homes, far away from each other. And so, I am at my house, so if you hear a little small child screaming in the background, I don't have a dungeon. Those are my baby girls trying to probably fall asleep, so I don't know if that will bleed through the mic if they scream, so just a heads up on that. But yeah, no, this is kind of uncharted territories. I wish it was more. We had like some brand new big like God of War type deals to talk about, but it'll be fun nonetheless.
Sure. And I'm gonna bring the first thing, and that will be the big Sony release of the week, and that is the DLC for Horizon Forbidden West: Burning Shores. Are you excited to hear about this, John?
I am. I have a couple questions written. Nothing crazy, but I'm curious to see what is different about this version.
Okay. Well, let me break it down for you. I did beat it. It takes about 5 hours to complete.
Okay. I can tell by your tone that you don't like it already. Just so you know, that's how much I know you.
It's 5 main quests, 2 side quests, and an additional cauldron. I did not do any of the other side content. I didn't do, the Forbidden Ruins, or there's some enemy bases around. I didn't touch those. And that does sound like not a lot when you add it all up, but each of those quests is very lengthy. I will say that. Like, it's not just, do one thing, done. One of the side quests, for example, broke into, two more objectives on the map, and then that one broke into another objective on the map, and then it led to me to have to come back for to wrap it up. So so again,
I know those kind of quests all too well.
So there's a lot of steps to each one, and this is how kind of the story works: is you have to complete the main game, you get a quest from Silence. And one of those Zenith guys got away.
The far Zenith weirdos.
Yeah, my favorite characters from Horizon Forbidden West. And the plot revolves around Aloy, who, needed the help of everybody to beat them the first time. Lance Riddick's character, Silence, Gaia, the supercomputer, to take down the rest of them. But, she's going to Burning Shores. She's going to be like, I'm going by myself.
Of course. That's what she did in Forbidden West, too. She's like, I don't need anybody's help. Yeah, you do. No, I don't. Yeah, you do. Fine.
Yeah.
That's how it seems. That's like Aloy's train of thought every single time.
Yeah, and so you fly to Forbidden West, using the flying mounts, and not 2 seconds in, they take the flying mounts away. They have a MacGuffin that shoots down the flying mounts, so you land in what the remnants of LA/Hollywood, and now instead of flying, you have a boat called your skiff, and you kind of drive that around to the various islands. That's kind of a new mechanic. Yeah, and again, this continues a lot of the problems that I had with Horizon Forbidden West. And the first one is the really bad writing, including bringing back these absurd characters. And he's just your typical, just horrible human being, this Far Zenith member that got away. And just side characters and plots that just don't go anywhere interesting. Which is funny because the first game was so interesting. The story was one of the strongest parts in Horizon Zero Dawn. It's so weird. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, they're so stuck on these like super powered humans from space that I don't get it.
Yeah, it's an interesting direction they took the story in that I know you're not a fan of. I'm not the biggest fan of either. I have heard some people, really like it though, so maybe it's just this genre of sci-fi that we just don't vibe with. But I was really kind of hoping that the story of Horizon, would have kind of revolved more around maybe like warring tribes across the globe, that kind of stuff, as opposed to spacemen with shiny heads that have space lasers. So that's it's a little disappointing. I heard that this game does kind of branch into the lead into the third one though. So I'm sure maybe you'll touch upon that here in a second.
Yeah, it teases it at the end. Silence kind of goes over what's going to be needed to be done to take on Nemesis, which will be the big bad guy of the third game. But it's nothing crazy. It's pretty predictable. But
and that's the other thing that you mentioned though too, is we've talked about this in the past too. It's kind of staggering how forgettable the side characters are in the Horizon series. Like, the one guy that annoys the shit out of me that was in the first two, I still can't think of his name. It's like Aaron or something.
Yeah. Good guess. But name any of the other characters.
Absolutely not. I got one, Varl. But, those are the two biggest side characters. But everybody else is just, insert weird tribal person with interesting hair, a crazy outfit, and they all just feel the same.
And they're all outcasts of their tribes.
Right.
And it's surprising, the new character in this is the exact same thing. She's an outcast of their tribe, and it's just... it's the worst part. Like, there's so much interesting things they can do with this scenario that it seems like they just thought of them all in the first game, and then they can't think of what to do next. I don't know.
It just sounds like they had a very important fork in the road probably at the end of the first game, that they had to decide what to do with the story, and they took the wrong path in my opinion. But
they should the AIs are the most interesting part, like all the different functions of Gaia. Like that should have been what it would have been about, because Hades was such a good antagonist in the first game that why they didn't lean into that.
Yeah, and it's maybe Captain Hindsight and all, but at least it's pretty, right? Like is it really pretty?
Yeah.
Tell me I'm pretty, Nick.
All the strengths of Horizon are there. The beautiful environments, the new robots. There's a new giant frog called the Bile Gut, and he's awesome. Like, he's just an awesome thing to fight. Nice. They've teased the water wings, which are these flying mounts that can dive underwater, and you can swim underwater with them. All that's there. The beauty of the world, just watching all these robot animals and dinosaurs in their habitats. It's like, I was in the skiff, and there was just a giant whirlpool in the middle of the water, and I was like, what the hell is this? And I dived down, and I forget he was one of my nominees for best bosses, the swimming guy.
It looks like Lapras from Pokemon.
Yeah,
that one?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was just swimming in a circle under the water so fast that he was causing like a whirlpool. And
that's dope.
Yeah, and that was a cool moment. And so all the strengths are there. You do get a new Zenith weapon that's fun to play with, that you can use to grapple close to enemies and do kind of like this quick time event finishing move. And it also turns into like a Gatling gun or a rail gun.
Nice.
Yeah, the combat is still very satisfying, except when it comes to the bosses in the game.
Oh no!
Which I'm pretty sure is also one of the bad things about Forbidden West, is when you're not fighting the typical robot enemies, and you're facing a regular boss. That's where the game really sucks.
Yeah. That's always been the case and it makes sense, if you have giant robot animals and then not those, I know which one's going to be more fun to fight, at the end of the day. And so, I guess that would be up to the combat and level designers to make a encounter that's engaging and stuff. And it's a bummer that they didn't get there, but yeah, when compared against the Bile Gut, I'm sure anything probably would have seemed a little lackluster.
Yeah, for sure. So again, I want to get back to reviews. I know we only reviewed Dead Space and then never brought it back, really. So I want to review on the 5-point scale, one being stay the hell away from this, and 5 being a masterpiece / perfect game.
Yep.
I'm gonna give this a 2. It's
Ooh.
I would not touch this. Like unless
Really?
you're really dying for more Forbidden West, but there's so much in the base game that why would you go to this? Like I just
So okay, that was gonna be my one question that I've always wanted to know since this project was announced, because I'm one of those guys that is a little bummed out. We've been in this cross-generational phase for over 2 years. So being that this is PS5 only, do you feel that? Do you notice it immediately, or is it something that you kind of have to like really look into the fine details to notice?
you notice it in the final boss fight. That is where you definitely know that this is a PS5 game. Other than that, no. There's still pop-in. There's still weird glitches here and there. That's the only time I was like, wow, this is a PS5 moment, was the final fight of the game.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean that's kind of like where I'm wrestling with my idea of if I should buy it or not. It's like, it's $20,
Yep.
pretty reasonably priced. It's not going to break the bank. And we were talking, the entry or just the baseline for Horizon of having very pretty graphics, awesome fights, and cool looking enemies might be worth it for $20. But obviously there's no story there to be had. So maybe for me, it sounds like you've kind of put me in the place of a wait for a 50% off sale type deal, or at least the next time I'm looking to get back into PlayStation Extra, because I don't want to have to pay for PlayStation Extra and then get this on top of it if it's not really that good of an experience. But
no, I
guess
I'm giving it a 2. I'm saying don't even do that.
No,
don't even
no,
don't pay a single
I know.
dime.
You don't think $10? You don't think it's worth it for $10, huh?
Unless you're dying to play more Forbidden West, that's
yeah.
But I think there's so many games out right now. I wouldn't. Why would you do that over Tears of the Kingdom or any other game that we can recommend out there? I mean, we're going to be stacked here. But I would just say do any of those.
Do you think that there's story content that is really crucial in this one that will lead into the third game, or no?
Other than the epilogue of this?
Yeah, which you can YouTube.
Yep, yeah, which you can YouTube. That's the only thing that matters. That's it.
Okay. And then one other question for you, Nick, and this is not really anything to do with the quality of the game or anything like that, but this DLC released about 14 months after the base game. What's your feelings on that? Do you think that that's do you think that's too long? Do you think that's fine for something of this level? Because to me, it just seems like DLC. I know people hate day one DLC, right? That's never going to come back because there's just too many people that would get upset. Mm-hmm. But I think 14 months is stretching it too long. And do you agree? And did you feel like you wish it was a little bit closer to launch so you remembered more stuff, I guess?
I prefer DLC closer to launch. Personally, I know why they kind of do this, because it brings more life into the game. I'm sure they can sell a Game of the Year edition with this included, and then you have this nice big package, this Horizon Forbidden West, perfect Game of the Year collection.
Yeah.
But personally, no, I always like it closer to the game, because again, we tend to sell games, and if it didn't come to Extra, I wouldn't have had a way to play it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of the world we live in now, with Elden Ring. That DLC is going to come out super late. What's the other one? There's another big one. Cyberpunk, right? That one's going to be coming out way after launch. So I guess just with the way that development cycles and things take nowadays, with how long all this takes, I guess that's kind of the happy middle ground. If people want more of that experience, you kind of have to just wait for it and be willing to jump back into it. And
definitely the length, like you mentioned Cyberpunk, and that made me think of this, is that's a true expansion. I would imagine.
That thing's going to be meaty.
It's going to be 20 hours as opposed, and probably cost the same, which is the funny thing. Because I think
I bet that'll be 30. I don't know.
Because I think all the expansions for Witcher 3 were $30 altogether.
Yeah, but that inflation, bro. Come on.
Yeah. So So that's the other thing is like this isn't very long, and when I don't always like to make that price comparison, but when you're comparing how much game you get with $70 of Forbidden West compared to $20 of Burning Shores, it's like there's not a lot, you know.
Yeah. No, I can't argue with you. Well, that's a bummer. I mean, I guess it makes a little more sense. I think it's sitting, at like an 81 on OpenCritic, which is not a bad score, but, you know, for one of the flagship franchises of Sony first party, you'd kind of expect a little bit more. You know, if Naughty Dog releases a DLC, you expect that to be just as high a quality, but, you know, it's out there if you're looking for more Horizon, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's on par with normal Sony DLC, because I think that what was the last one was like Spider-Man, right? The City That Never Sleeps.
One sucked. Yeah, that
was around around the same amount of quality. So
yeah, I mean there was Iki Island, which I didn't.
I don't think either of us played. That out. Yeah, that's right.
But yeah.
So
cool.
I played it. You don't have to.
You did it. Good. Took one for the team. Thank you. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, well, let's do something a little more news heavy, but a pretty big one, albeit, you know, not an exciting studio that we're about to talk about, but Sony's bought a brand new team, which, you know, is a headline that you don't get to say every day. So the team in question is Firewalk Studios. Now, you might be asking yourself, what games have they made? Well, the answer to that question is nothing. They have not made any games yet, but it's not any reason to not be excited about this purchase. So, originally paired up in 2021 when Sony announced a publishing partnership with Probably Monsters and Firewalk, Sony has seemingly been so impressed by what the team has been showing them that they wanted to put a ring on it. Firewalk is a brand new team filled with veterans from Bungie, Respawn, Activision, BioWare, Ravensoft, and more. Their staff has helped shape franchises such as Call of Duty, Destiny, Halo, Apex Legends, and Mass Effect. Originally formed in 2018 as a part of Probably Monsters and is led by seasoned developers who know and love multiplayer games, their experienced leadership team has helped launch some of the biggest entertainment properties across game and film. So, you know, I obviously, I think, Nick, we can both kind of agree what this charge of this studio is going to be. What's your initial thoughts with this studio? What do you think kind of game they're going to be working on?
I'm assuming it's going to be the Call of Duty competitor, the first person. Boy, I wouldn't be shocked if it was some kind of modern warfare, maybe a little bit of an advanced warfare, maybe like a 50 years from now game where you have modern weaponry and it's going to have all the bells and whistles of a Warzone / single player campaign. I think it's going to be...
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those.
You hit the nail on the head. I think this is Sony securing their Call of Duty rival, their future, you know, for whenever this Activision Blizzard deal goes through. You know, I think they're going to kind of be their plan. You know, with the people from Bungie, Respawn, and Activision alone, I would imagine you're right, Nick. It's going to be a modern warfare, futuristic kind of shooter. I would imagine you're going to see some elements like from Titanfall. It's like the Respawn guys are there, where there's might be some fast movement and things like that. And then if you get Bungie working on it to make sure, you know, former Bungie people, but as well as Sony having Bungie on their side as well, you can imagine this is obviously going to probably be one of those live service games, going to have a lot of that stuff tied into it, but I would also expect a very, very high quality first person shooter whenever we do see anything from this game. But I just wanted to ask you too, Nick, have you ever heard of Probably Monsters? Because I had to look this up when I was kind of researching this.
No, I only saw it when I saw this announcement.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing, but I just wanted to mention it just so we are all on the same page. But Probably Monsters is it's almost a co-op of sorts. They kind of own a group of studios, and then basically their whole focus and mission is to make sure that there's fair treatment and having a better industry. So I think, you know, no crunch time, fair working conditions, things like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I just wanted to point that out. It's it's not a developer per se, but they own 3 teams. Firewalk was one of them, but
that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of a weird thing that I never really saw.
My guess would have been their venture capitalist who fund the start of a studio so they can get bought and then they recoup their investments.
No, maybe there's a little column A, little column B. You know, I'm sure there's obviously the business side to it, but I thought that was interesting, but. So, you know, not much more to say. You know, we will know more, hopefully.
I do have something to
What's up?
add. Is with this and with the rumored Square Enix acquisition that's been rumored that we think is waiting on the Activision Blizzard thing to be done with, Sony's portfolio is pretty dope. Like, if you think like this studio's making a first-person game, Bungie's making a first-person game, all their normal studios making their games, and then you're talking the whole JRPG, MMORPG factory that is Square Enix, you're looking at just the very varied portfolio of games, and that's kind of exciting. It's a very smart decision if all this comes to pass, that I think will.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, I think everybody who's kind of in touch with the industry would agree that the biggest thing that Sony would be missing from their studios would be a first-person shooter. You know, Microsoft dominates in that space with Doom, Call of Duty seemingly going to be there, and lots of others, but Sony needed something like that. So I think that if this team pans out and if the products that they come out are of a Sony quality, this could be their ace in the hole, man. This could be their avenue into getting people to be like, if they can release a game that is of Call of Duty quality, if not better, I would expect it to be better, but they need to try and capitalize on mindshare. And with the sales that we've seen of the PS5 lately, I believe it was last week or last month, it was up 369% in the UK, as opposed to Microsoft Xbox being down 10%. You know, they have a lot of smart things in motion. You know, and this is just another one of those pieces that they added into the puzzle where they really are trying to shore up the, you know, cracks in the mortar, so to speak, and the corners that they don't really have. You know, they got Nixes to help shore up the PC side of thing. They bought Valkyrie just to add some support because development cost is becoming so high and development time is so long. They got Bungie to help with the live service aspects, and here you go with a first-person shooting studio. And if Square Enix if that rumor turns out to be true, I mean, the only thing they don't really have that you could argue Microsoft still has a leg up on is like Western RPGs with like Bethesda and whatnot. But, you know, there's still offerings from CD Projekt Red and things like that. So I don't think Sony's really too worried about that. But it's, you know, it's something that we'll probably need to talk more about on the show, you know, in future weeks, Nick, is like, there's just, I don't know, man. I keep seeing more and more and more reports and things of just bad health on the Microsoft side. And it's not, you know, it's partly because of Sony and just how good of a product they make, but also I just wonder if the decisions they've made in the past couple of years that seemed very future forward might start to come back and bite them in the butt again, because, you know, we're seeing another game. It's not a huge game. Oxenfree 2 is coming to every other platform except for Microsoft. It's coming to Switch, PC, PlayStation, because there's this underlying feeling that, like, games are not sold on Xbox right now. The only way for these companies to make money is if they take a Game Pass deal, and there's going to be a lot of developers and things out there that just don't want that. And so it could be this death of a thousand cuts type thing that just continues to add up. You know, despite Game Pass being successful and kind of a cool feature, it's just, I don't know, man. I think you know, this is just another version of Sony being a little bit smart and taking a different path than Microsoft does. And, you know, if it works out, it's going to be huge for them.
Sure. Yeah. It'll be an interesting, like, this summer Game Fest area where we see what everything happens and where Microsoft's at and where Sony's at, because they're both kind of, I mean, we know Starfield's later this year. So
Dude, Starfield is so important. Oh my god, like, I'm nervous for that game because, like, with the Redfall news, that is still, you know, a little bit of a shitstorm. There's so much riding on that game.
Yeah, we'll see how it shows, you know, at this whatever Microsoft summer event is.
Yep.
But before we move into the next thing, I forgot an announcement. We forgot that Humanity.
You're pregnant.
Yeah, I'm pregnant. Humanity, the Shibu Inu puzzle game, is a PS Plus extra day and date release. Did you see this, John?
I did. I did. That's the perfect type of game for that for me. Like, that's the exact type of game that I would have been very reluctant to spend I don't know what I'm guessing it's probably a $29.99 game, maybe $24.99. Because I anticipate, Nick, this game to be a very well received critical game. I'm kind of mad at myself for not picking it up in the fantasy league. Don't get any ideas. But, so I think it's going to review well, but it's a puzzle game. And in these games, every single time, I love the first 5 or 6 levels until it reaches a point of complexity that I go, nope, my brain's not good enough. But, if it is something that's, like, enjoyable and the mechanics are good, like, I could totally see myself stepping into some of this, because I think there's, like, about 100 levels, and some of the ones I saw during this weird-ass trailer they launched were kind of cool. And if you get stuck, just watch a fucking YouTube video and you'll be fine.
Sure.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, so it'll be out May 16th with all the other PlayStation Plus extra games, which we don't know about at this point. But yeah, that was a cool announcement that I totally forgot to put at the start of the episode. So just wanted to sneak that in. All right, so the other big news of the week is the Street Fighter 6 showcase. This occurred on April 20th, where they showed a pretty lengthy, I forget the exact amount, it wasn't quite an hour, but it was pretty long. It was hosted by Lil Wayne. I don't know the connection there, I can't tell you. But that was funny, him kind of being the intermediary and opening and closing guy between all these Japanese developers.
Dude, Lil Wayne is I feel like an old man saying this, but he's so 2010. Like, what? Good for him, though. Good for him.
But I guess he does kind of fit with the urban vibe of the game, so maybe that's the connection.
That's fair.
But it showed off. It started off with the World Tour mode, and that is kind of the single-player content. And what this is it's basically Yakuza meets Street Fighter.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looked like initially when they showed it off.
Yeah, so you can fully customize your character. So you do that right off the bat. You can fully explore this world. You can go to other countries and whatnot. And everything is very Yakuza. It feels Yakuza. How your character moves is Yakuza. You can get chased by guys with boxes on their heads, and they'll start a fight with you.
Sick.
You can fight refrigerators at one point he was fighting.
Sick. Can I punch a car like in the old Street Fighter 2 like bonus stage? Can I blow up a car with my fists?
I'm sure you can, because they showed that in the arcade mode. The normal Fighting Grounds mode, which is the arcade mode. They showed Cammy fighting a semi truck, beating the shit out of it. So
nice.
This is you get quests. There are vendors. There are stores to go to. Your menu is your cell phone, so you get text messages from Street Fighters. You go and you can have a Street Fighter be your sensei or your master, and then you start learning their moves. So you can kind of like incorporate their moves into your character. You can give people items to increase your bond with them. They showed the character giving Chun-Li like flowers or something, and it increased their bond.
Hell yeah!
So it looks kind of fun. It's like this interesting fleshed out single player mode that we've kind of seen in trailers before, but they kind of fully showed it, and we'll get into later. Was playable after the showcase. Does any of this sound interesting to you?
Way more than when I initially just saw it the first time we saw Street Fighter 6, and I find it incredibly interesting and good on them. It shows what a different Capcom we are experiencing compared to 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Street Fighter 5 launched with 0 single player content, like at all.
Yep.
I believe it was just fighting functionality, which a lot of people were kind of pissed off about now. And fast forward to Capcom today, and they're like, yeah, we're not only going to do like a cool single player thing that you might just expect to be a side content, but like it's going to be robust. We're going to make a whole thing out of it and really show people why Capcom is incredible right now. I'd be interested to see if I gotta imagine, at a developer like Capcom with thousands and thousands of employees that they have their Street Fighter teams and their Resident Evil teams and things like that. I wonder if they kind of employed the help from some of the other teams of like people who know a little bit more about the RPG side of things or just the stat building side of things, to make this like a full-fledged thing. It sounds like it's not just a blow-off side project. It sounds like it's definitely something you can sink your teeth into, which is super cool.
Yeah, no, it has It has cutscenes. It has, your characters increasing in level. You can just explore the city, and if you'll see people with levels above their head, you can walk up to them and hit X, and you'll just get in a battle with them, and you'll gain experience points.
Okay. Yep, dude. That's exactly what I want out of fighting game. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty interesting, and yeah, we'll get into a little bit more a little bit later here. And then they showed off the Battle Hub, and that's where
Also, can we pause real quick? I just want to put a shine on what a stupid thing I just said was. That's what I want out of my fighting games. I don't want to fight. I want to run around the world and press X when there's. It's so stupid. All right. Anyway, sorry.
But you would think maybe like this kind of content will engage you more to try out the rest of the stuff, and that leads us into the Battle Hub, and that's where you take that customizable character where you teach all these moves and whatnot. You take them and you can fight them against other people.
Yep. You're exactly right. That's what fighting games are missing for me is a motivation to want to improve on my skills that's not just going into a training mode and going combo combo combo. Was that right? No? Okay. Let me try it again. And it just gets old and you kind of get sick of it. But if there's a way to have fun, level up a character, unlock some stuff, for sure, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so they showed off that there's customizable clubs, so you can be in a beginner's club or a fan club for this character, so you can just create your own clubs in there. And then finally they did get into the Street Fighter that we know, and that's the fighting ground. Again, we've seen this before. There were some cool things like fights can get dirty, quote unquote. Like your clothes will take damage. You get bruises and cuts as the fight goes on.
I thought you were gonna say you can kick him in the balls.
Maybe that's Guile's thing, right?
Different kind of dirty.
Oh no, that was Johnny Cage's thing. I'm sorry, I'm getting them confused.
He would do the splits and punch you in the balls. Good stuff.
But that's a mode you can turn on. And this was an interesting thing that they showed. There are these really robust tutorials. Like if you pick, Ryu and you want to learn about him, there's a guide to how to play as Ryu. There's all these there was a whole screen full of training things about how to play the character, and then it'll walk you through all those things. Mm-hmm. But one of the cool things that they did is that you can turn on this mode which makes a sound indicator for everything you do. So you'll have a sound indicator how close you are to a guy. So as you move close to a guy, the sound will change, and you'll kind of learn that's the distance for certain attacks and whatnot.
Right.
And when you're right up on top of them, the sound is really high. And then as you back off, it's okay, only this amount of moves can reach them, and so on and so forth. If you jump and you do a crossover, which means you hit them, you jump above them and hit them just so right in the back to take damage, it makes another sound. It's this really interesting way to kind of analyze the fight and maybe learn what to do, is not just by all the visual indicators that you see, all the frames and whatnot, but just these audio cues. And I thought that's, at first I thought this was an accessibility option. It was no, this is how you can learn to play the game.
Yeah.
It's
sounds like they really thought. They did accessibility is all the hotness right now. And while this isn't, like you just said, it's not accessibility, it does seem like developers have taken a very serious undertaking with trying to figure out different ways that they can reach groups of people that might not be interested otherwise, right? The ability, we've all went through school and they're like, well, I'm not an audio or I'm not a visual learner. I'm a do it in, myself type learner, or I'm a person that, I have to listen to something. Mm-hmm. So why would that not translate into something like a fighting game where it's I can't do this if I just read a menu that says okay, now make sure you're one punch distance away. But if you can give me, this auditory thing that triggers my brain to maybe think in a different way, that's good on them for trying something different.
Yeah, it'll be interesting in practice. I wonder if that will make a difference for people. Is wow,
I bet it will at first, and then you'll probably eventually want to just turn it off after you're probably graduate from a novice to an intermediate player, something like that.
Sure.
But cool.
Yeah, and then they went into all the extra content, which is not shocking. Street Fighter V man, got support years and years and years after. And so they went and do all the new fighters for year one, which includes some returning favorites. You got Rashid, Aki, Ed, and your boy Akuma. He'll be in the first year of content.
Okay.
So there'll be tons of post support for this. They did get also into the esports stuff. They're going to have a $2 million prize pool for the upcoming, and it'll all be Street Fighter 6. So it's cool to see Capcom just like 1,000% buying this game. Not only the single player content, but the esports scene as well. It seems like they're attacking on all fronts, for the diehard fans and for the people that are on the outside looking in and want to try it. It was a very impressive showcase.
Well, that's the perfect segue, Nick. Are you buying this game?
I don't know.
I still haven't made up your mind, huh?
Yeah, we'll see how it reviews, what people say about the single player content. If it feels good and people are really into it, and this is like one of the best reviewed games of the year, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, I always wonder, I think I've talked about it on the show. I know I've talked about it to you. Fighting games are that like, white whale. It's like I really want to play them, and I feel like I'd like them, but every time I try, I just get mad. But I wonder if if I broke through that and enjoyed a fighting game, I wonder if that's a good thing for me. I feel like it'd be bad because those are games that absorb. They take up all your time, and I'd be like, oh, well, it's your Street Fighter, and now Mortal Kombat. Let me try this one out, Guilty Gear. And if I get into one, I don't know, man. That might be a dark day because I can't ever get out. I don't know. Because like after as we'll talk about with Neon White, man, like really, it's so fucking satisfying to get not only good at a game, but to really understand a game. And I gotta imagine that feeling with the fighting genre is like, to the nth degree.
Yeah. Well, it could just be your next Rocket League. I mean, it could just be that game that, I mean, I didn't really talk about it, but they have a bunch of like lobby modes that look exciting, where you can have like, personal lobbies of, your friends, and you can make all kinds of different matches and whatnot, and they're kind of set up in different arcade machines. So you can have your lobby have 4 arcade machines, and 1 is one-on-one fights, and arcade machine
cool.
2 is tag team battles, and 3 is a weird fight where you can't jump or something. Like it's really crazy.
Yeah, I think I know myself, and I would get so mad if I went into the world of online fighting games. It's a dark place.
Well, maybe it's like there's something about Rocket League that kind of can be that healthy medium,
Yeah,
it's very satisfying whether you win or lose.
I mean, it could be a thing. Like I could honestly see the most amount of success I could see myself with a fighting game would be is if you and I both got it and we both were committed to just fighting each other all the time. Like I don't, and if that's a gateway into it progressing into something more, but it would have to start, I think, with me and you and somebody that I can enjoy the game with and not just get frustrated that I keep losing.
That's funny. That was my Street Fighter 4 experience. I lived with a roommate at the time, and we just played each other.
Same.
We'd play 30, 40 matches in a row. And we'd always play like similar characters, and we knew like, oh, if you pick this character, if you pick Ryu, I'm like, oh fuck, he's picking his best guy. Like,
yeah. But it's very Super Smash Brothers-y.
Yes.
And, of course. Yeah. But it is a lot of fun when you break past that initial I don't understand it.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
all right.
Did you get it? Did you get your hands on the demo?
Yeah. Well, you're getting ahead of me.
What? That's the next topic. I thought I segued perfectly. What do you mean?
Well, that's what they ended the showcase on, is that the demo is available now on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. So as you're listening to this, you can download this and check out the game yourself. And that's exactly what I did. I actually was watching the showcase I think an hour later. I just went to YouTube and looked it up, so I wasn't watching it live. And at the end, I was like, "Oh shit!" and I ran upstairs and, and started downloading.
When
it.
you told me this morning, I immediately popped it open on my phone, and so I plan on after this podcast checking it out a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So it's not very meaty as far as the Fighting Grounds mode, which is the normal Street Fighter mode. It is just Ryu versus Luke. You can't pick any other characters. But what it did introduce me to, and I wanted to talk to you about, is this new control scheme, and they call it modern controls, and then they refer to the previous games as classic controls. And in modern controls, they're really focusing on a 4-button control scheme, in which O, X, and square are your light, medium, and heavy attack. And they don't mean kick or anything. They're just, that is the attack. So you don't get to pick, you're not picking heavy kick or heavy punch. And then triangle is your special move. So if you're Ryu and you're just standing there and you hit triangle, you will do a Hadouken instantly. You do not have to do the button combo. If you want to do the uppercut, it's just forward and triangle. If you want to do the spinning kick, it's backwards and triangle. And it kind of makes this really simplistic way, and there's more to it. Like R1 is a move, L1 is another move, and I won't get into the dirty details of that. You'll find out for yourself. But I was playing this way, and it was pretty fun, John. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I texted you. I wanted you to check it out.
That's Super Smash Brothers inputs, man. That's smart. That's really smart.
Yeah.
We keep talking about barriers being broken down to get people into a game, and this seems like the biggest type of barrier you could break down.
Yeah, it could be fun. Like I said, it could be that stepping stone. Like, okay, I'm really enjoying this. I've learned the timing. I've learned other characters. Like I know the game itself. And now I want to do the combos. I want to have that touch, I want to be able to determine what move I'm doing at what time. But I don't know, man. I was like, if anything's going to sell me on this game, it was this mode right here, because it made the game very fun.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's funny you mentioned that, because one of the games I'm about to talk about here in a second is very similar with the combat scheme, and it felt novel and something I haven't experienced in anything except for Super Smash Brothers. So I'm definitely down to try that. And that's why I like to play fighting games anyway. It's kind of always a bummer when you go into a fighting game and you just go punch, kick, pick it, and then you get through a match and you're like, all right, well, I guess I won. But if I'm doing Hadoukens and Shurikens and I don't know whatever the other crazy noises are. It's just going to inherently be more fun, of course.
Yeah, and it's making it a lot simpler, right? Like when you don't have to do the crazy way to do an uppercut. You just have to hit a button forward. Like, you'll be better at timing. You won't get frustrated like, oh, I meant to do this, and instead of the uppercut, I just did a forward punch, and now the guy's hurting me. It felt great. I'm not gonna lie.
I remember with Street Fighter 2, I used to get so mad because I could never do Guile's Sonic Boom, because you had to hold forward, then back, and then go back forward, and then hit a button. And I was like, I can't do this. I simply cannot do this. And then I would play the computer, and the computer would be Sonic booming my ass all over the place, and I would get really mad. So that's if I can Sonic Boom just by going forward triangle. I'm in.
I'm sure it's either that or backward triangle. That's how simple it is in this mode. So it's like that's. If when you play the demo, I mean, it kicks it right off. It's like it introduces you to the tutorial. It asks you how you want to play, so you're going to see this right off the bat. But I'm very curious what your thoughts of this is. And
are we able to play each other in the demo or no?
I don't think so. I don't think there's online matches. Just local.
Yeah, I figured not, but all right, that's fair.
But the other part of the demo was the World Tour mode. Like I mentioned before, you customize your character, you're thrown in the world, and that was fun too. Like I was mentioning before, all those things. You have levels, and you can just walk up to a person, hit X, and then you're fighting them, and then you beat them. You gain experience, you level up. It's very so that grind, that dopamine rush is there. And in that mode, it also includes the mode to hit. You can hold R2 and just keep hitting square, and you'll auto do combos. Okay. So if you're just kind of like we were talking about with Final Fantasy 16, it's like, oh gosh, I got to grind out all these fights. Like, it makes it simpler by just adding this trigger to just auto attack.
Yeah, you're buying this game, dude. You're buying this game. It makes sense anyway. Like, you know, you're gonna have Jedi Survivor, and then you're gonna have all of May for, you know, nothing to play, and then by June 6th or what? June 2nd, you're gonna be like, yeah, I got 20 days till Final Fantasy 16. Let's do it. So
I'll be starving.
Yeah, which is good. That's good. Step out of your comfort zone, you know.
But yeah, it was fun. It was pretty lengthy. It showed off kind of just like, it showed off those guys that would rush you, and then you're actually in like a gang fight. Like there's like 2 to 3 guys on screen, and I had a buddy with me, and we were both fighting together. He's AI controlled, but yeah, we were fighting together trying to beat up these dudes.
It's like Streets of Rage all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And it's very silly. It's like I said, you can auto attack.
Yeah,
you can use items during mid match. So if some guy's kicking your ass, you can just use an item to heal up. So it's got a lot of RPG elements in it. And yeah, it was a good introduction to that mode. You know, I'm not gonna lie. All the characters do look ridiculous. This is a PS4.
I'd have it no other way.
Yeah, this is a PS4 game, and it does kind of show in this mode specifically, like the character models aren't that great if they're not a named main character. When you're running into just random people, they don't look as good. But I enjoyed my time, and like I said, anyone can check it out. It's out there.
Well, solid, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anytime. Yeah. I'm always a fan of stepping out of your comfort zone, playing something that is, you know, not like the, you know, over the shoulder Sony first party narrative adventure type game. You know.
Yeah.
Love those games, but it's nice to get something different. So awesome.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
All right. So, you know, last week, Nick, we were kind of talking about, you know, the Resident Evil merchant, right? And IGN made a post about it, and we had to take it to task a little bit. But I felt like we did our boy a little bit dirty. He's a good merchant, but he's not the best merchant. You know, there's other ones out there, and so I thought let's go over some of the best merchants out there, Nick. You know, the ones that really stick out to us that maybe, you know, give good old Resident Evil 4 boy a run for their money. So. Yeah, I made a list in true PlayStation Pals fashion. I have 5. I believe you have 3.
Yep.
So, you know, that seems to be par for the course around here. So I'm not sure, but I feel like I should probably go first, seeing as I have a couple more.
Yep. And I'm sure we'll get a boondoggle.
Yeah, probably. But I know this one you will definitely not have. No surprise, some of my favorite games out there are the From Software Souls series. And if you're a fan of that series, you know there's one character that seems to show up in every single one of them, and his name is Patches. And, you know, he's kind of just your standard merchant. You're not doing anything crazy, but the fact that he carries himself through every single game, he's always got a little bit of dialogue. And I believe it's in Dark Souls 3, he turns into a large fucking spider with just a big head, his big dumb bald head, you know, where his face should be. You know, he's just kind of the merchant of that series if you were to ever, you know, pin it on one person. And so I got to give a shout out to my boy Patches, just because you know, he's been there through it all with us, because those you know, sometimes you need an extra little pick me up in the Souls world, you know. Yeah, and reoccurring is definitely a plus. That is something. Again, yeah, I'm going to take the merchant to task. That is one thing he does not do. He never shows up again. No, it's because he's, you know, I don't know. He's so mysterious and only belongs in Spain, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
All right, so. Also, then again, that'll be the running theme with all my merchants, is just how much better they are than the actual merchant, is because they actually have an impact on the game and the story. You know, sure. They're just not there to sell you stuff. They actually add something to the game.
Yep.
And my first one is from MGS4. It is Drebin 893. This is a arms merchant that Solid Snake runs into very early on in the game. He is accompanied by a coke-drinking, smoking, diaper-wearing monkey called Little Gray. And as any MGS character, he's just got the most ridiculous backstory. His whole plot is ridiculous. You know, he secretly injects you with fox dye, but he was actually doing it to help you. blah, 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 Kojima story. But he is a very cool character. I'm not going to lie. Like, he's one of the coolest characters Kojima has made. And, you know, and he's a person of color, which is, there hasn't been a lot of those in MGS games, so.
No, good choice. I mean, I think you had anybody at Smoking Monkey. So
yeah, he's got a good partner.
Yeah. No, that's a good pick. All right, and for my next one, this is a game that I need you to play, Nick. You know, I know you need to play it, but one of these days I'll get you to do it, and that's Undertale. And in Undertale, there is a little character that is kind of a hidden character, and when it comes to merchants, she's not robust. She doesn't really give you much, but if you play Undertale, you know that this game is just oozes with charm. That's what it is. And this character's name is Temmie. And Temmie is kind of like this little dog thing. It could be a dog, it could be a cat, you know, that basically you go and talk to, and she just talks to you kind of in the way that like over the top people talk to cats and dogs. You know, it's like, oh, he's so cute. Oh my God, he's too cute. And but that does it in a really, really cute way. That is, you know, in par with the charm of Undertale. And you even could do like ridiculous things like if you give her enough money, she'll eventually go to college and then come back from college and then she'll learn how to sell you this other armor that basically breaks the game wide open. And she's like, oh, I want to give you this armor, but like I don't want you to be sad when you break the game, and you know it's not difficult and stuff. And it's like kind of third wall breaking. Again, if you play Undertale, you know. But Temmie is basically the embodiment of that game in one single character, and she's, you know, adorable. Okay. So got to give it up to Temmie.
Yeah, and I know that game is very humorous, so I can imagine that's a very silly character.
It is.
All right, so it's been a while since I talked about this game. Persona 5. There is a merchant in the game, Tai Takumi. She is the doctor in the game and also the death confidant. You know, she's the nurse that is okay with using a high school boy as her guinea pig, you know, giving you all kinds of weird liquids and then monitoring your health as you drink them, and jokingly saying, oh, it's not going to kill you. And then, of course, you know, as the ultimate bond between you and this shopkeeper is, you know, you sleep with her. So, you know, how many merchants are we going to talk about that you get to sleep with as the main character?
I was about to say she's kind of got this goth babe thing going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you got like a choker on, short black hair.
Yep.
Yeah, I can dig.
Yeah. Very good character, very good story. Again,
Tai Takumi.
Much better than the merchant.
All right. Well, I'm gonna try and go for your third boondoggle. Or this will be the boondoggle if there is one. Brock and Sindri. Am I right?
It is the boondoggle, yes.
There it is. Brock and Sindri. So, you know, not much more to be said.
Nope.
God of War has been on this show so much. So not going to run it into the ground, but just some of the most charismatic, you know, merchants I can recall. They have very heartfelt stories. You can tell that there is so much backstory and past between these two, that they are eventually able to overcome, and, you know, not going to spoil Ragnarok, but there's some big heavy moments with them as well. Brock is foul mouth, and that always is a plus for me with anything. You know, if you get a foul mouth little shithead that just kind of, you know, doesn't give a fuck about anybody, and what they think, and you know, and they're badass dwarves. They make you the fucking weapons you need in God of War. Like, I can't think of a better merchant out there, right? They make these weapons you need. I don't see the merchant making the guns that you buy.
Yeah.
So Brock and Sindri are top tier.
Yeah,
merchants,
and again,
for sure.
compare them to the merchant. Like, it's night and day. Like, they're an integral part of the story. You know, one of the biggest plot points in God of War Ragnarok involves them.
If this was Lord of the Rings, they would be in the Fellowship.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Brock and Sindri, yeah. I don't want to give away any spoilers, so we'll just kind of leave it there.
Yep.
I hope we see them again, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you.
So
what do you got?
All right. Well, I'll just rattle off my last two. I want to give a quick shout out to Karen from Hades. You know.
Yes, I thought that was going to come.
Did you? Yeah. He's just one of those characters that you kind of get attached to for some dumb reason you don't know why. He doesn't say words. He just grunts at you and goes, "Ugh," but in a comical type way, and eventually if you he's kind of in front of this bag of money by his shops, and if you go in there and try to take the bag of money, he basically turns into like the hardest boss fight in the game. And so, it's just a unique merchant. The fact that, he's kind of like this guy, obviously in the realm of Hades, Karen is the boatman that takes the souls to Hades. So, he's obviously a big part of this world. But the fact that he doesn't talk, the fact that you can fight him, I think he's a pretty cool dude. And then lastly, Emil from Nier Automata. He is if you've ever seen kind of a picture from Nier Automata that is not 2B or 9S, it's probably this guy's face. His face looks like almost like a moon with literal eyes and a really big shit-eating grin mouth on it.
Why is he? Yeah, because he is kind of like the icon of the game. He's kind of like the Morgana of Persona, or what's spacing on the bear from Danganronpa.
Monokuma.
Monokuma, yes.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the face of this game, and why is that?
I think it's probably because he is one of 3 characters that I can think of that exist in both Nier Replicant and Nier Automata. Basically, he was a small child in the first game. I don't remember the specifics, but he eventually basically merged with his sister and was granted immortality. And then so you see him in Automata, and he's just basically roaming the wastelands for centuries and for a long, long time. But so he's got a really tragic backstory that they really dive into. He turns into a boss himself, towards the end of the game. But I think it's just one of the, that he's got a very unique face. He's easily recognizable. It's a type of a mascot that you can put on a property and you kind of know immediately what it is. Exactly. And it's a little more maybe PG than 2B plushies, so they had to find a different character to attach to it. But he's goofy, he's silly, he's got a silly little theme song that plays when you're by his shop, so he's an easy character to kind of make an icon. But he's got a very, very heartfelt story that if you dive into it and you really take the time in this game to learn, I think you kind of can't help but walk away liking him. It's just one of those 26 endings that you can get in Nier Automata, but it's if every time we make one of these lists, Nick, you're gonna probably get something from Nier from me. So it just is what it is.
Yeah, fair enough. Again, that's. Yeah. I hope that franchise comes back in some way, and I hope I'm in the same room when it does.
Oh man, yeah. I was actually thinking about that the other day. Not to get on a Nier Automata tangent, but I believe that game sold like 7 million or something. It's like 6 or 7 million, which is very, very good. I mean, those are numbers that a studio looks at and goes, yeah, sequelize that. Like we need to get another one, and it's reached definitely a level of cult status, I feel like. So I expect to see it again. I don't know if it's Nier Automata 2, but I believe we'll get something in the Nierverse.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. One day.
Sure.
All right.
So all better merchants than the merchant from RE4.
Yeah.
That's the summary.
These are the facts. But he is a good merchant. He's a good boy. He's just not he's not the best. But speaking of Resident Evil 4, Nick, I have been able to get some gaming in. Wrapped up one big thing that I want to talk about, and then kind of go over a new game that I've been playing.
Okay.
So first and foremost, Nick, I did it. Today, I finally did it. I beat Neon White.
Oh, we're in uncharted territory for me.
Yeah, I kept looking at all of the the time trials when you beat it and like, okay, nope, Nick played this one. Nope, Nick played this one. And shit, dude, I feel so bad for you for how far you were in this game when your save file got deleted because you were right at the end. It was the second green fight, right? Which was like mission 10.
Yes.
Yeah, and mission 11, my friend, is when you get the best thing in the fucking game.
Okay.
Do you know what the Book of Life does in the game?
I think I got it for 2 seconds, but go ahead. Tell me.
Okay, so the Book of Life is basically a teleportation machine that really breaks this fucking game wide open. I thought the rocket launcher was what did that. Was like the thing that made this game absolute insanity. But
is it like a dash from like Dishonored, or
it's
Deathloop?
It's more than that, dude. Like if there is an enemy, a treasure chest that will have a weapon in it, or a red barrel, and you have that thing in your sights, you will immediately be on top of it. Like you just dash immediately to it. So you're zipping. Instead, it basically eliminates the need to run anywhere. You're looking for the next thing, and you're dashing to it as fast as you fucking can.
Does it have infinite uses?
Yep. Yes, it does. It has infinite use. Yeah. So you're just going balls to the walls, and just constant zip, and it's so satisfying, dude. Like I to the point, like with this mission specifically, I was having so much fun with it that I got 4 reds. I think 4 of the red times, just because I was like, I can do that a little bit better. I can do that a little bit better. I can knock off a fraction of a second there. Or like the shortcuts that are opened up with this one are just absurd, because you can just fly off the edge in some seemingly random direction. You're like, oh, there's a thing I can see in my sights, and then you just boop, now you're at the end of the level. So I would, I gotta say, dude, if you ever in the mood to get back to Neon White, it's definitely worth it to just for mission 11 alone. But yeah, so after getting through this game, I think it's in favorite games of all time territory, dude. Like it just I was
gonna ask you, you beat the game review it.
It's so perfect, and like the level design is top tier. The fact that there are so many different ways to tackle a level, like when you start to get to these levels where you have the rocket launchers in this Book of Life, there is so many different paths and ways to take, and just the loop that is created with the speediness of the levels, the fastness of the movement, the precision of the aiming, the movement system that's unlike anything I've ever experienced before.
And just the game design, right? Like you're talking, those 2 things are like game breaking, right? But they are introduced late in the game that you're so used to all the mechanics. You're used to like getting those inches and those seconds off just by cutting the littlest of corners. Is that when it's almost like the power fantasy, right? It's like they give you the weapons to just go crazy. Like you know what the goal is. You know what you have to do to get through the level. Like we're gonna give you this item, and we in all missions 1 through, I forget where they introduced the rocket launcher, but 1 through 8, for example, are just build up to this moment. Like for you to go crazy and just have fun, have that power fantasy, but have it be in a traversal kind of way.
Yep, exactly. And just the way that everything builds upon everything. Like, as you get to the end of this game, you start doing, like I think some of the levels are more in the 1.5 to 2 minute range, but like one of the last levels is a really cool one where you're like, you start in the beginning and you're just getting pistols, and then all of a sudden you got your Book of Life, and now you're zipping, and you go through each of the different weapons and kind of I think the level's called Marathon, and so you're doing basically each of the weapons in order to just kind of like, be like, hey, remember all the shit that you did throughout this game. And it's just one of those examples of a game that knows exactly what its mission statement was and nailed it absolutely to perfection. And I gotta say too, like, the story, the way the story wraps up, it's very satisfying. It's not the star of the show, but it's better than I think it has a right to be.
Serviceable.
It's serviceable, but like, but towards the end too, like, the stuff that you haven't seen yet, it does.
I watched the video. I know what happens.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, like when you
don't spoil it for people, but
I won't. But when you get more of the backstory from these characters and kind of what went down, it's pretty satisfying. And it just kept getting better and better and better. So I just to kind of let you know where I'm at. I am the level 2 Neon right now. I need 1 more ace, and then I will have all aces, all gifts. So that's basically everything from the main game, and so then that'll just leave the heaven and hell rushes for all of them, and then I got to beat fucking green up that tower twice, which that's going to be the one that breaks me. I'm hoping that that's not. I've watched some guides though, and there's like guys that beat it in like a minute 15 when like the mission is like 4 minutes. I'm like, so. How did you do that? I don't quite get it, but I think there's ways to cheese it where basically like if you get in front of like his last crystal with a shotgun, you just like you line him up perfectly and you go pop pop and then you get a shotgun blast. And if you do that like every single time, you can kind of get him because you just need to get his health bar. It's really not a timing thing. It's more managing his health.
I got the first one and it's more about getting as many little pot shots as you can.
Yeah.
And he's flying around above the screen, so it's kind of hard, especially with the controller. I imagine with the mouse and keyboard, it's nothing.
With the mouse, not too bad.
But yeah, it wasn't as hard as I thought. It's just another, just like all the time trials. It's just one of those things that you're just going to keep doing and doing and doing, and then you're going to get the perfect run and be like, oh, got it, boom.
Yep.
So
I'm excited to really see what how far first time I get in Neon in White's Heaven or Hell Rush, which is every single level in the game in order.
Yep.
I'm curious to see if you eliminate the necessity to get through the level as fast as you can, do these become a little bit more manageable? But I fully intend to get the platinum, so I'm not done with it entirely yet.
That was one of my questions.
Yeah, I am going for it. It's too good. It's simply too good. To give it a PlayStation Pals rating, it's getting a 5.
Good. That was another question.
It's getting a 5. This is a recommendation that I think people need to take and determine what kind of a gamer you are. But if you are somebody who likes fast-paced shooting or quick movements, tight controls, all the things I always talk about on this show, you owe it to yourself to play this game. It's $25. It's well worth full price, but if you can get it on sale, it's even more worth it. I know we've talked this game to death, so hopefully we don't have to bring it up anymore, but gotta really give a shout out to Neon White.
Yeah, don't let the videos deter you for sure of the game. I think just try it. It's something special. It's so unique. There's not a lot out there like it. But I do have one more question.
Sure.
Did you find Idiot Island?
No, I don't think so. No, so that's interesting because Violet, I've got every single gift, and I'm missing one thing from her. So doesn't it have to do with Violet?
It does have to do with Violet. It is one of her levels.
Okay. I have to look into that then.
It is a trophy, so you'll have to do it if you're going for this platinum.
Okay.
But basically, in one of her levels, I think it's the submachine gun card where it's a ground pound basically.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of one of her levels, you have to ground pound between like 10 floors or something, and the floor right before the end, you don't want to ground pound because that's where the gate is. But if you get in the rhythm and you ground pound your way all the way down, you'll end up on Idiot Island, which is an inescapable island with a sign on it making fun of you. And then you have to replay the whole level again.
That's very Violet.
Yep.
That's very Violet.
But I was hoping you would discover it on your own. I guess you're a better player than me because I found it immediately.
Well, I remember that level. I don't know. I guess I'm just better than you. I guess you're right. That's another reason I want you to go through this game again, so you can see, we can get a good representation of our times.
Yeah.
But anyway, super good. No more needed to be said about Neon White. And then also, Nick, I am continuing my playthrough through Resident Evil 4. Again, I don't have a lot to say. I'm on chapter 6, so I'm approaching the castle. Continue to having just a ton of fun with it. I'm surprised by how much I'm liking it. It's just one of those whole package games. I think it's like the looting system's fun. There's barrels all over the place. That's always fun to find new things. I think the combat continues to be fun. I like headshotting and trying to come up with a roundhouse kick. I realized that I was enjoying it because I got all 39 of 39 treasures in the village area, which I wasn't even intentionally planning on doing. I just looked up. I was like, oh, I got them all. So really, really kind of just in the zone with it. Now I am coming up to the castle area, and so I know there's the catapult, madness, and some more of these high intensity combat focus areas. But I'm still enjoying it for what it is, it is much more of a action game than it is a horror game. So that's going to get a lot of my attention now that Neon White is kind of on the back burner. Because that's kind of a question I got to ask myself is like, do I just immediately pursue the platinum with it, or do I set it down, but then I'll lose a step with my skills. So, I probably need to stay focused on Neon White, but Resident Evil will be continued right behind that. But lastly here, Nick, one of the games I wanted to talk about, because it's not a very well-known game. It just came out, but I've never heard anybody talk about it. And the only reason I checked this out is because I'm a sucker for reviews, and I saw it sitting at an 88 on OpenCritic. And I picked it up on my Switch because I thought, this is a good type of game for that. And the game is called Vernal Edge. It's a Metroidvania developed by Hello Penguin Team LLC. Like I said, 88 on OpenCritic, so I thought, well, let me check this out. What makes this game special? And I immediately, upon looking at the screenshots, you can kind of, it's very indie, right? It's got pixel art. If you're familiar with these kind of Metroidvania games, it's you can kind of probably see it in your mind's eye how it looks. But I will say the pixel art is very, very well done. The sprites are excellently animated. There's lots of fluidity to it. Like your character has a sword in her hand, and you can even hit a button. She'll kind of flick it through the air, kind of in an arc over her head, and it all looks very, very smooth. Characters are constantly bouncing. Trees are constantly swaying. Good stuff like that. But what this game really does well, and where I think it really shines if you're into Metroidvanias, is its combat. And this is the game, Nick, that I was referring to when you were talking about the one-button system for Street Fighter, where you are a character, with a sword that has the ability to dash, the ability to parry, and everything like that. But the controls are very, very tight, and what this game does is it has a very similar thing to that one button system, where if you're pressing forward with your attack, you're going to do a different attack. If you're pressing up, if you're pressing down, and then each of those also has a power attack for it as well that you unlock. So you hold down the attack button, you charge up your special or your power attack, and you'll hit the enemies a little bit harder. It allows you to kind of bounce the enemies around and really start to juggle with them, play with the different attacks and moves you have, because each of these encounters, not all the time, but most of the time, if there's something that's a little more intensive, it's kind of arena based, where you get into a combat zone, the walls shut down, until you're able to beat every single enemy and get out of there. Kind of think of Devil May Cry, something like that. But with the fluidity of the combat, the way that all of the combos and things work together, it makes it really fun. You also have magic ability, so you dash through an enemy, which you have iframes on. You hit them up in the air, hit them up in the air again, dash over to the other guy, use your magic to hit the other person from afar. More guys spawn in, and you kind of like find this nice rhythm with the combat. Because one of the other things that you have to do is manage breakers on the enemies. So you can kind of picture underneath the health bar of each enemy has like these little blue spheres, and so if there's 2 blue spheres, you got to hit them with 2 power attacks to break their guard, and then that allows you to start juggling them. So it's kind of this song and dance of making sure that the guards are down, getting them managing the amount of enemies on the screen. You don't want to neglect people too long, otherwise you're going to get overwhelmed. But the combat really does shine. Now, I will say, I'm probably 4 or 5 hours in, and it does have some problems. I don't love the navigation system. One of the hardest things in Metroidvanias to get right is to allow the player to kind of get lost, but always allow the player to get back onto the right track when they need to. That's Metroidvania number one probably issue, So, and I don't know if this game does that well, or if I'm just missing it, because one of the things that sets this one apart is there's this overworld system where you kind of get into a ship. Skies of Arcadia, I think, is what immediately comes to mind. You're not doing combat in the ship, but that's how you navigate to these different islands. Sky islands, I guess, is what you could call them. And each of those sky islands has its own map. And so, right now, at least in this part of the game, all I'm trying to do is find out more information about my father, who is the bad guy in the game. And my little companion is just like, we have to go find more information. And I'm like, great. which of the 9 islands is it? And they're like, we have to go find more information. And it's just like, well, I don't, I just unlocked a ground pound, which lets me go through, barriers that are underneath me. So, of course, I've played enough Metroidvanias. I know that now I probably need to find that thing somewhere that opens up the next path for me. It's just there's no... I don't need to be told where it is, but I need to at least have like, hey, it's this island, or hey, something. And so, I gotta figure out that part of it. Because unfortunately, I'm at the point where it's like I almost need to just watch a video, and that's annoying. I don't want to have to do that. So I'm not in love with it, but it is nice because it is a Switch game. I continue to forget how beneficial the Switch is for me when I'm trying to squeeze in games here and there. It's just nice to be able to pick it up and play it for 10 minutes when my daughters are drinking their milk or my son is watching a show or whatever the case. Sure. So, I might continue to play it, but I also just on a whim, because I am who I am, bought Rogue Legacy 2 on Switch because I completely forgot that that's only on Switch, and I loved the first one. I haven't played it yet. It's just another game that, if I do get burnt out on Vernal Edge, to continue playing something on the Switch, because the first one was great, and I've heard this one is great as well. And it's not on PlayStation platforms yet. So, was hoping to check that out. But it's a really good game. If you're into Metroidvanias, if you're into pixel art, older school vibes with really tight, solid combat, I'd give it a look-see. It's on PlayStation as well. It's not just on Switch. And it's $20, so it's not going to break your bank. But, it's a game. It's okay. I'm not regretting my time with it, so which is always a win.
It's weird, yeah. You say it's an 88 on OpenCritic, but not a lot of people are reviewing it. Is that weird?
No, it is weird. Like it came out March 13th, I think, and it just showed up on OpenCritic, which means I'm sure OpenCritic has a minimum threshold of reviews needed before a score gets posted. So yeah, it didn't get a lot of traction in circles from any of the big publishers or outlets or anything like that as well. So I don't know if it's just going to be this word of mouth thing or if it will just remain one of those obscure games that just kind of gets lost to history. But I figured I wanted to check it out now because if I do what I always do, I'll just wait for a sale. I know the timing's not going to work out. So I took the bullet, I took the bait. Nintendo's got a great rewards program, and I had I think $11 built up in just pre-purchase coins or whatever you call it. So picked it up for $8. And it's it's not too bad. Good little indie thing.
Cool. Yeah, John always bringing the indie games.
Yeah, I got to provide some value to the show.
Yeah. All right, so that is 6 things. John, do you have anything to tease for next episode?
Well, I'm off work all next week. Unfortunately, I'm not doing anything crazy fun. My mother-in-law is going to Mexico for a well-deserved break. That's who I had to drive to the airport at 3:45 a.m. this morning. So I'm hoping, the girls, today was kind of a test run of how much game time I could get in. And it wasn't too bad. So I'm hoping... I would love to be able to get through Resident Evil 4 by next podcast. It's possible. I don't know if, I also don't really want to be having my girls around while I'm playing that. So, I don't know what that does to baby brains, but it can't be good.
No.
So, yeah, just that. And then, hopefully I can maybe, smash out this Neon White Platinum and...
Good luck.
Yeah, you doubted me. You doubted me before, Nick. I don't think you thought I could get that Cuphead Platinum. Yeah, but I got that.
Yeah,
and I think
it's
I don't know. We'll see.
So just to get into it, is to get the Platinum, you have to do everyone's levels that you gave gifts to. The violet, red, the yellow. You gotta do all their levels, and then you gotta play through the whole game without dying.
I know.
So
it's easy, dude. See, you don't know how good I am at this game now. I'm so good. I know this game like the back of my hand.
It seems like a make or break one. It's you'll get on the last level of Violet and die, and you'll be like, I can't do this.
Yeah,
but I think the speed run for this game is 30 minutes. So I guess it is. If you're playing them back to back to back to back, you're probably only looking at 10 minutes for the regular characters, and then maybe, I don't know how I'm sure it saves your progress, but maybe 1 to 2 hours if you were to just rush through the main game?
Well, so yeah, I know like the world record for White's 97 levels or whatever is like 30 minutes, and so that's obviously insane, boys.
Yep.
So yeah, I would say it's probably gonna take me 45 for White, and then the colored characters, not too bad, like 5 to 10 minutes. I'm not worried about them at all. I think they're gonna be tough but manageable. It's gonna be White's and Mikey, which I think is Mikey's Heaven or Hell Rush is White's Heaven or Hell Rush with only a rocket launcher. It's something weird like that. So you gotta do the whole game twice.
Okay.
Once with Mikey, and like it's different. So
okay.
What I might do is I might just try White's because I already have his unlocked. Just see how truly awful that is. Mm-hmm. Because it would be a bummer to get all the colored characters, get Green's tower thing done, and just have no prayer at White's or Mikey's, because those are definitely the hardest ones. But,
yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Get the bad one out of the way. Because what good is just one silver trophy? Like, fuck that.
Exactly.
I want that. Exactly. I need the platinum.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't stop talking about this game. Look at us.
Yeah. No. No, good. I mean, it reviewed well, so I know that's how it got on our radar in the first place. But I know, you instantly latched onto it. I know we were excited for it to come to PlayStation because it was on Switch first, and then when it did, I went above and beyond and bought this game for John, even though I didn't have to.
You did, you beautiful boy.
And obviously, my indie game of the year. I mean, it probably will be your indie game of the year. If you get this platinum, there's no way it can't be your indie game of the year.
Yeah. I think it got another review too, because it's up to a 90 on OpenCritic now. I think it was an 89 before.
Wow. Yeah. Just incredible. Just awesome. On my side, I knew before we started recording, I mentioned to John where I'm at in Persona 5, and I was like, I don't have to talk about that. But then that's our bonus episode, and that has to be done by next week. So I do kind of have to mention it. John, are you there?
I got you. Yeah, I got you back. Sorry. We're having some technical difficulties.
Okay.
Go.
That I didn't have to talk about it. But with the bonus episode, I do. So this is where I'm at with Persona 5 Royal. All I have to do is beat the final boss. That's all I have to do. I have to beat the final.
Oh, it's easy.
Yeah, of course. But it's a JRPG, so it's a boss with an insane health pool and just this war of attrition. It is good. I have spent several hours on this today because I finally got to it today.
Oh no!
And it has just been a frustrating mess because I beat this guy. It's all done. Persona 5's done. I get the platinum. Everything's gravy. But I got to get through this, and I have to get through it by next Friday. So we can talk about it.
You'll get. Have you looked up just cheese ways, or that's kind of the thing about JRPG, turn-based JRPGs. There's no way to cheese shit. It's just you just got to keep going.
Right.
You just got to keep laying down the defense spells and the other weaknesses that you got to do.
Yeah, and just get lucky on, crits and whatnot, the luck stuff.
Yeah.
But, the first video I watched was, the first guide that I looked at was completely wrong.
Really?
Yeah, it was telling me there are 5 different things to attack, and this one was telling me to attack the wrong one. So that my first playthrough was a wash because of that.
Fuck that guy.
And so I'm working through it. I've had to grind. My build's pretty solid right now. I am making progress on it. I just have to beat it. He has 3 phases, so I can get to phase 2 now. So
is his name Azathoth? Azathoth?
Yes, but don't mention more because I don't want to spoil what the final boss is.
I won't. But
I
just saw the Azathoth.
Yeah, that's his name. So up until this point, obviously still loving the game so much. So I just want it in my rearview mirror now. I want to.
Yep.
I want to be done.
I know that feeling. So
that'll be my focus, and then I'll take a break because Jedi Survivor will be out next week. Yes. I won't have it to talk about next week, but it'll be exciting because I'm curious as to where this game's gonna review as well.
I would expect north of a 90. That's
that would be nuts. That would be nuts.
It's very, very, very good preview impressions. So
that would make it the
PS5
highest
only
reviewed game that's not a remake.
It would probably immediately put it in the front runner for Game of the Year.
Yep.
So, might be short-lived with Zelda 2 weeks after, but
yes.
It'll be a contender for sure.
Yeah, that's coming too. So lots to talk about, lots of games to play. We're eating good. It's nice to hear us both making healthy progress in games.
Yes.
Beating games is nice.
I was so happy when I popped that last trophy for Neon White. Now just couple more trophies to pop.
Yep. Yeah, you get that Idiot Island trophy.
Yes.
All right. So the song we're leaving you on, I've been listening to a lot of Rocket League soundtracks lately. John, you are aware of this. Rocket League it features a lot of great songs.
It's a game I've played every once in a while.
Yeah. But this one's been on my playlist lately. It's called Fury. It is by Rogue. Again, just get hyped song, So hopefully this will bring you some energy as you get into your weekend, and hopefully you're having some good gaming moments there. You're knocking out some games before this storm of games in the next 2 months. So
games, news. It's video game Christmas coming up.
Yeah. It'll be nonstop, back to back to back. I'm sure Breath of the Wild reviews are coming very soon. Before that game comes out, I bet we'll get a good lead into that.
Yeah, I would imagine their confidence levels are pretty high.
Yeah. So, all right. So we thank you for listening. We'll have a bonus episode before next episode, but after that we will be back with 6 more things. Goodbye, guys.
Cool. See you guys.